What is up, everybody? Dude, I am so pumped to be back. I'm so pumped. I was so upset that I missed last Saturday. I was so upset. I had so much going on. I was like, I don't think I can record this week. I don't have time to fit it in. So we're back. I'm really happy to be here. Long story short, your boy had like 25 assignments due. I had two exams and I worked from Friday to Sunday and it was just nuts. I had no time. I had an internship that week too. I had some hours I had to complete. Oh, dude, it was nuts. Anyway, I'm really happy to be back. I'm glad you guys are joining in with me. So let's just jump straight in. Jump straight in. So the quote I have for this week comes from The Fiction of a Thinkable World. I talked about this in previous podcasts, but it's really interesting. And I'm starting to read it again because I've been so busy. I haven't had really time to free read. I've been reading things for other classes. For example, I just finished a book. I don't know if you guys know Portia de Rossi. She's an actress, and I had to read her memoir for a psychology class on eating disorders. Insane. Like, I just finished that book. I actually enjoyed reading it because it was interesting to learn about her eating disorder and how she developed it and how she got better from it. So I just finished that. So I haven't really had the chance to free read. I've also been reading like Roman Republic stuff for my Roman credit in college, like my course, part of my core classes that I have to take. So I've been reading up on some of that stuff, which is also like we're learning about Julius Caesar and Cicero and all those guys, and it's just really interesting to learn actually. But yeah, so The Fiction of a Thinkable World. We're back on this train. Here is the quote that I kind of picked up from my reading yesterday. So it goes like this: If we don't own our actions, we would have no reason to act at all. And that's Michael Steinberg. That's not any quote in the book, other because he quotes a lot of famous people and philosophers in this book, but that's coming directly from him. So I'm quoting him directly from what he said. So let me repeat it. If we don't own our actions, we would have no reason to act at all. So with every action and decision that we make, it'll accumulate over time, good or bad. There must be some intention behind what we choose to do with our time, right? So you have to own your actions. You have to represent them. So your actions represent who you are overall. And you have to attribute to that. You have to attribute that to it's almost like deciding who you want to be. Do you want to be the guy that gets stuff done? Like if for me in college, it's like, do you want to procrastinate and not do your work? Or do you want to do your work and have a little bit more time to yourself and free read and maybe hang out with a friend or something, like getting your stuff done or procrastinating it and having to do it last minute. And that's a decision that you have to make. That's just an example. Another one could be let's say I work a heavy schedule or you work a heavy schedule that week. You can choose to take a day off and not work 6, 7 days a week. You can try to get time off to be with your family more, see a friend, hang out with somebody, make a connection, or you can choose to work the entire week and get money. So there is a fine line, I think, between those two decisions right there. So it'd kind of be like, oh, I need to work and I need to save up money for X thing, or I can do both and I can have some time with my family and. So I think overall, right, our actions directly reflect our attitudes towards things, and they reflect who we are as people. So think about it. Do my actions reflect who I am? Let's say you're a Christian. Let's say you're a Christian, you're Islamic, you're Jewish, whatever religion you practice, right? Or believe in, I should say. Let's say in your religious text it says to do this. Let's say like you can't cuss or something like that. And you swear like a lot. That's something that doesn't reflect on who you want to be, right? So it's contradicting. So think about it. So the theme for this podcast, the theme I want to stress is you can't hold your happiness hostage. Now I chose hostage in that word because it's more serious. There's this more serious tone inflicted with the word hostage, and I think it's really important to stress that word. So this leads me kind of to the first point I want to make is how to achieve happiness, right? I feel like that is kind of the greater meaning of life, and what people try to strive for is things that they want to do. They think achieving their goals will make them happy. And then you see a bunch of entrepreneurs in their memoirs that they write that making that business and getting all that money didn't solve anything and they still feel empty. So the first point I want to make to achieving happiness, or at least getting you closer to it, is small victories. Small victories. So as I said in previous podcasts, I'm thinking about running a marathon potentially. I'm definitely doing a half, but I'm even considering a full because it scares me. And I think do stuff that scares you, right? Because part of me thinks I can't run a marathon. I don't want to do that. But in reality, I probably can. And if I give myself enough time to train for it, I definitely can. And I've been struggling with the fact of going and tottering like back and forth, like, oh, can I do it? Can I not? I think I can. I just need time to improve my endurance before I do it. Small victories, including stuff like that. So relating back to what I said about the marathon, I'm going back and forth deciding if I do it or not. I'm deciding I'm doing it. I'm going for it. But small victories could be starting with 1 mile. Run 1 mile. A marathon is, what is it, 26 point, something like that. It's like 26 miles in some, right? Start with 1 mile. 1 mile is going to turn into 2. It's going to turn into 3. 3 is going to turn into 4, 5, 6. Eventually, I'll be running a half, right? I'll be running 13 miles. And then I'm going to be running 26? It's a long road, but starting small and having small victories, small wins, can get me to that destination. Now, relating it more to someone who isn't trying to do something like that, it could be as small as making your bed. Making your bed, getting up early. Early is like, if you struggle getting up early, if you wake up early one day, that could be a small step to making a routine for yourself and getting up early and maybe the same time every single day. Making a to-do list, that's another big one. If you wake up and you kind of struggle with remembering the things you have to do, make a to-do list ahead of time. Be like, hey, I need to, I'll make a note here. I have to clean the kitchen, clean my room, get this assignment done for school. Or if you're working, I have to go to work here. Maybe I go to the gym there and I run here and I do something, like you have goals to do for that day and you have things you have to get done. And it's a good way to keep track of it. Another thing could be eating healthy. You could just cook yourself a nice meal, whatever you like. I mean, small victories are so important for us because we think if the goal isn't big enough for people to notice, it doesn't matter. But your goal could be as simple as I'm going to make my bed every day this week. It could be like that. So when we think of big goals, right, what do we think about? We think about maybe the marathon I was talking about doing. We think about a bodybuilding show. We think about going to the Olympics. We think about completing some big, big goal, getting a really good grade on a test, getting, anything, So when we relate those big, big things, those big wins for people's lives, and we see that on the receiving end, we're like, I'm not doing anything, So, and it diminishes the power of small wins, I think. So small victories, like making your bed, making a to-do list, getting up early, cooking a healthy meal, they might be small things, but they can lead to something greater. They can lead to a bigger goal. When I started my bodybuilding prep, the amount of things I was doing were small victories. They were doing 2 cardio sessions a day. They were doing a gym session every day. They were eating my meals. Like those were little things and little wins, but they progressed me and over time they built up and I was able to go on stage. So small victories are so important because they lead to bigger, bigger things. And big things don't happen without the small victories. Like I said about the marathon, you start with 1 mile and it's a progression towards something greater, which would be the end result of 26 miles. So that concludes my first point. I just think it's really important to consider that small victories are something that everybody needs. And you don't have to rely on thinking that big, big things are the only important things in life. Small victories make sense and they do promote or excel you to the next level. So this leads me to my second point of trying to find happiness, right? So we just talked about small victories, but when we think about small victories, they have to make sense for us in the goals that we are trying to complete at that time in our lives. So this leads me to my second point, which is chaos is not fulfillment. If you're stressing every minute of every day, you're not living. You're not. I have an example of this. I actually have a friend in college. She is always running from the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. And I always ask her, I'm like, why are you doing all these things? You need some time to yourself. And she's like, oh, I got to do this, this, and this. And she's always stressing out and she's never in a good mood. When I told her, I'm like, hey, you need to like dial it back a little bit. She's starting to sort of listen to me a little bit, but it's a work in progress. She's consumed by everything she's got going on, and she's trying to thrive in this chaos around her. And you can't find fulfillment in that. You really can't. Going back to summer, when I was trying to do a prep for a bodybuilding show, working a part-time job, which was the mechanic deal, and working an internship, 2 jobs plus a prep. So a prep entails just low calories, lots of training, very, very high fatigue rate. And then you have the other 2 jobs, which are just straight up mentally exhausting and physically taxing, especially when it's coaching and it's working on cars and stuff. So I was all consumed in the chaos of what was going on during that summer. And that happened over a 3-month span, but I was prepping for about 6 months. So it was towards the end of prep when it started getting really hard. So the crazy part was when I experienced all these things, I did not have an ounce of happiness in my body. I'm convinced I was so upset all the time. I was so grumpy, and I wasn't a fun person to be around. I wasn't. I was totally enveloped in the chaos, and I wasn't getting any fulfillment in it. I may have been doing, like, from the outside perspective, oh my gosh, this guy's got it so put together. This guy's on it. I was dying inside. I was dying. I was not living. And going back to my friend, she's doing all these things, which might seem like she's doing a lot, and she's doing a lot of good things, and people are like, oh, she's got it put together. Oh, she's so much more ahead of the game than I am. She told me the other day that she didn't feel good about herself, and she was down, rightfully so. Chaos is not the answer. I talked about this idea on a previous podcast with John, my buddy John that I had on. We talked about filling your schedule, right? Fill your schedule, but don't overcrowd yourself. Don't seek to be busy, right? Yes, stay busy, but don't fill every little, like for a Google Calendar example, don't fill every little time slot in there and fill it with something. Don't. You need free time to yourself. You need time to unpack things. You need time to explore yourself, explore your hobbies, your likes, your dislikes, things like that. If you are honestly always around people and you're always doing something, you're not going to get any fulfillment out of it. Sure, you could have a good experience with something, but later down the line, you could be working hours from 4 a.m. to freaking 11 p.m. at night. I don't know why my voice just went so high up there. But chaos is so interesting because people that are so busy, people that strive to be better every single day and have these goals like me in the past, but you need to learn to slow down. I'm at that point right now. I'm in a stage where I'm transitioning into another phase of life. I'm going to be my second semester. I'm going to be a junior in my 3rd year of college. And I'm going to be training for a marathon here, like starting the end of December when I'm done with school and I go on break. So yes, I'm in this transition phase, but I'm not starting it now because I know I don't have more time to commit to things. I already have a part-time job. I already have an internship. I already have school hours, and I'm training 4 to 5 times a week in a bodybuilding style training program. So that's 4 things right there that I do. Plus, I'm not counting my family life and my personal life, my family life, relationships I have outside of school and outside of work. So there's already a lot going on. So if I bring on a whole nother set of workouts, that's more time on my hands. That's less sleep. That's less recovery. That's not good for your soul. If you do too much, too fast, you're going to burn out. Chaos is not fulfillment, and it never will be. So when I think about like what we just talked about, chaos, we need to find peace in times of chaos. So this leads me to my 3rd point. Peace is a performance enhancer. Now, let me give you some examples, because when you hear peace as a performance enhancer, you kind of think like, is he talking about peace as a supplement, or like, like is he referring it to it like that? In a way, sort of. For your brain, peace is a performance enhancer. It clears your head of whatever you got going on. So, for example, it could be, for me, it's slow mornings, routine, the gym. The gym's a big one for me. It's kind of where I train early, or not early. I train later in the day. So I have all this like pent up emotions. And I'm like, if I had a bad day at work or school or an internship, I'm like, I just want to go train and forget about everything. So, and the gym's a big hobby of mine, right? So, exploring those hobbies, I'm able to find peace in that. I'm able to just be by myself and work out and provide stimulus to a muscle group I want to work. But like I said, slow mornings are something that really provide peace for me at the moment. And you could take this in any direction of how you want to set up your morning routine. If that's something you want to look into, morning routines are great. You could go on a walk. You could read in the morning. I've been starting to read in the morning, and I found it really peaceful with a nice cup of coffee. Let's segue this to coffee now. Are you a black coffee drinker, or are you a sugary coffee drinker and you need like the whipped cream and the what is it, caramel macchiato? I've been in a Starbucks maybe twice in my life, so I really don't know like the size. Like, what's a venti? Is that a large or is that a tall? I don't know. I don't know the sizes. I don't know really anything other than an espresso or black coffee or maybe a latte. I've heard. I really don't know any coffee drinks, but anyway, that was a total rant, but whatever. Going back to morning routines and slow mornings. For example, if you wanted to start doing stuff like that and finding peace in your mornings, meditation is always great. I always preach meditation. Meditation is amazing, especially mindfulness. Mindfulness, you can practice that anywhere, anytime, any day, you can do it anything. Like, you could do anything with it. And mindfulness is the difference between mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness is really being aware of what's going on around you and just taking it all in. So you're not wearing headphones, you're not zoning out, you're kind of zoning in on everything else around you. So if you're walking somewhere, you can notice like trees, you can notice buildings, people. If you're walking like next to a street, you could hear all the car sounds and take everything in, right? Meditation's more like, when I think of meditation, I stretch and I do like mobility work. I'll put in my headphones and I'll just kind of zone out, and I'll just kind of do my thing. And I'll just do a lot of breathing techniques, and I'll just try to slow my heart rate down and like really try to calm down. Where mindfulness, yes, you're calm, but you're noticing things around you. That's kind of where you could find certain areas of peace. Those are just a few examples. And going back to mindfulness, it's almost like accepting the present, being aware of things around you could cause you to think more. Like this could also be attributed to, we could talk about the idea of love and attraction to somebody. Finding peace in not just slow mornings, a routine, the gym, meditation, mindfulness, accepting the present, things like that. Those are all really important for an individual aspect. You could find peace in somebody you love. They talk about this idea of home is a person, not a place. And that could be a relationship with your significant other or your mom, dad, sister, brother, So you can find peace in every aspect of your life. You just need to pick and choose which one works for you and how it can benefit you. So for me, like I said before, the gym benefits me because it allows me to relieve stress, and it allows me to get away from everything I'm dealing with in my life currently, and I can just focus on one particular thing. Same with slow mornings. I like going on walks, maybe jogs and runs sometimes. And then I'll come back, I'll have breakfast, and I'll mindfully eat. Be very aware of what I'm eating. Like this morning, I'll give an example. I had like oatmeal with some protein powder in it, so protein or protes. Protein oatmeal with like berries and a little bit of fat. I had a little bit of peanut butter, and yeah, that was it. And it was really good because of the peanut butter in it. And I just sat there and I slowly chewed it because I was just like, this is so good. This is amazing. And I remember I used to watch YouTube when I would eat, and I would scarf down food. And I wasn't really being mindful of what I was eating. Like, obviously, I knew what I was putting in my body, and I knew it was good for me, but I wasn't really tasting it, if that makes sense. Like, I was tasting it, but I wasn't noticing what I was eating. Really, I wasn't paying attention to specific things. I wasn't chewing very slowly. I was just like, I need to get the calories in, and it's not about the taste, whatever. But if you slow down I think that's another big theme of this podcast. We need to slow down as human beings. If you're super driven like I am, it might be really hard to slow down. So, like I said, I'm in a transition period right now, and I'm kind of just trying to finish up my first semester of my junior year. I'm still ramping up to do the next big thing, which is my marathon prep. I am not doing anything differently right now. I'm just training. I'm lifting weights. I'm doing minimal cardio. I'm just walking, getting steps in, but I'm just kind of content with where I'm at currently. Physically, mentally, I'm doing fine. But I understand people that are always trying to do the next big thing. I get it, because that's what I'm doing. But I need to have grace periods where I can just focus on myself for a little bit and chill out. I just put my body through an insane thing, which was that bodybuilding show. My body's super stressed and it's still like adapting to a more normal routine than it was used to, right? And it's not in this weight loss mode. It's in this maintain mode where it's like, all right, I have the nutrients I need and I got to hang on to everything. And I'm able to kind of relax. So going back to peace as a performance enhancer, if we utilize it correctly, if we find peace in hobbies like the gym, running, circuit training, anything physical, if we find peace in mental things like reading, spiritual, reading your Bible, reading the Quran, reading a text that you're into in your religious terms, or expressing yourself, going to church, going to temple, things like that. If you're being mindful, if you're being in the present, if you're meditating, if you're stretching, doing mobility work, if you're just sitting there drinking coffee, if you're sitting there drinking tea, if you're just sitting there staring at a wall or staring at the open world and staring at a tree, that is something you can use to your benefit. Quiet time for yourself will further enhance your self-attitude and it will promote a better quality of life. I don't know, bro. It's just really, you need to slow down every once in a while. I honestly don't think you need to be doing so much stuff to where you're starting to hate yourself because you have no time to yourself. Chaos is not fulfillment. Small victories are important. Peace is a performance enhancer. These are all things we need to consider to find happiness. And that's what we as humans want to do in life. We want to be happy, right? And you're not going to find happiness in loads of success, I feel, because the most successful people are the most unhappy, I feel. Now, to end this off, I want to relate this to, if you guys have ever seen Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, go check that movie out. Fantastic kind of representation of what I'm kind of talking about here. Bill Murray in this story has to live the same day over and over and over again. He gets stuck in this like timeline continuum thing where he relives the same day. And he does different things every single day. At first, he thinks, I can eat donuts. I can eat whatever I want. My bank account's all good, and he's kind of a not a great guy in the beginning, and he has some character development things that happen through that process of living over and over again. And it all comes down to him finding peace at the end. He meets somebody and he finds his peace in her. So as we're talking about peace as a performance enhancer, when he breaks out of this time paradox thing that's going on and he goes and bees with her, he's finding peace and he's able to be himself. And through that entire experience, he's better for it. He's a better person. So as long as we find small victories, like making our bed, having a to-do list to do, getting up real early, maybe just once that week, getting up early, meal prepping for yourself, making like one meal to bring with you to work. Maybe if you're at home cooking a meal for yourself that's good, healthy, has good macros and good micronutrients. Those are small things that will lead to something bigger. And over time, if we continue doing those things, it'll become a habit and we'll be better for it. Do not fill your schedule. Going back to chaos is not fulfillment. We can do all these fantastic things, but there is such a thing as overkill. We need to learn a little bit of balance, just a little bit. You can work your ass off and do it, but have a little bit of time to yourself and the people you love. Peace is a performance enhancer. Find what works for you. Walks, reading, meditation, mindfulness, exercise, anything. Find what works for you. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for joining in. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I left you hanging on last Saturday, but I was busy. I was really busy. I'm not as busy this week. I only had about 15 assignments that I had to do instead of 25. You should have seen my reaction when I opened my Canvas page. I was like, "Oh nah, it's gonna be one of those weeks." So yeah, I appreciate you guys so much for just tuning in, listening to the things I say. It means the world to me. But yeah, I hope you guys find your peace. I hope you guys have some small victories you can use and have in your life that can work towards a greater goal of yours. And don't fill the schedule. Stay busy, but don't fill it. There's a fine line between succeeding in things and overdoing it. So, all right. Deuces, y'all.